trivia, and this video is all about my younger sister, Myka.
How big is Myka?
Oh, you can. Oh, so big. How big is Myka? So Myka was born on Friday, January 30th, 2015. She was born full term via C-section, and everything seemed great for the first couple of days. She was nursing well, she was sleeping well, and after a couple of days, Myka refused to eat. Her breathing was labored and just visibly wrong. And so the doctors at our local hospital decided that Myka needed some more help. And so very quickly they became really concerned and transferred her downtown Pittsburgh to Children's Hospital of UPMC, where they decided that she needed toxins cleaned out of her blood. Basically, my breast milk had turned into poison in her body, and her body could not process it. So she underwent several rounds of complete dialysis in order to clean out her blood.
Myka was diagnosed with MMA.
That's short for Methylmalonic Acidemia.
I remember last year when we got to Children's Hospital, Reagan and I were praying numerous times throughout the night on Myka's 4th day of life. God, would you please spare our daughter for your honor and glory, not for our own benefit, not that we would have a bunch of memories with her, but that she would verbally communicate the gospel later on in life. And that was our prayer from day one.
We quickly learned when Myka was in the NICU that she has a very rare genetic disease called methylmalonic acidemia. It affects approximately 1 in 80 to 100,000 babies that are born. And pretty much what MMA is that Myka is missing a very crucial enzyme that is used in metabolizing or breaking down certain amino acids found in protein. Without it, Myka cannot correctly get rid of toxins in her body, and they very quickly turn into acid, which affects all of the different systems in her body and really is really hard on her kidneys, can affect her brain, and a huge source of where that is metabolized is in her liver. And so while a liver transplant is not a cure for Myka, it will hopefully significantly reduce the effects of the MMA by giving her a liver that can break down those amino acids.
As we've said before, Myka's life is the perfect spiritual illustration. Looks awesome on the outside, but is a mess on the inside.
Myka's body doesn't produce any form of the enzyme mutase. So the form of MMA that Myka has, the subtype, is mut0. She doesn't make any of it. And as Richie and I have processed what that means, we have thought about the verse in Isaiah 40 that talks about how God numbers the stars that are in the sky, and because He is sovereign and in control, not one of them is missing. And we firmly believe that nothing is missing in Myka's body that God has not allowed. There is something physically missing, but we do believe that it was part of God's plan for Myka's life, and that she's exactly who God wanted her to be when He made her.
One of the things that the genetics doctors thought was crucial for Myka before we left the NICU last year in February of 2015 was that she get the gastronomy tube surgery. And so Myka has a G-tube in her stomach that we use to administer medicines, and when she doesn't take the appropriate amount of the nutritional supplement formula that she's been prescribed for her MMA, we put that through her G-tube in her stomach as well. Myka goes to Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh once a month for appointments with the genetics doctors, and because of the ammonia and methylmalonic acid in her blood, she has frequent blood work every month.
When a typical child has a sick day, they just don't eat as much, or they just don't feel good. But Myka can't have a bad day. A bad day for Myka means that we end up not only back in the hospital, but on the verge always of a metabolic crisis, which can really leave Myka as a different person than who we know her to be right now. So it's crucial that she has good days. So we also really try to keep her away from germs as much as possible. Within reason, we try to keep her healthy as much as we are able to.
You might think that Myka's a little too old to take a bottle, But we still do this 5 or 6 times a day because she has 30 ounces of her specific Propomex nutritional supplement mix that she needs to take each and every day. It's got the appropriate amino acids and proteins that her body is able to tolerate. And she doesn't really like the kitty cups yet.
A lot of people ask a lot of questions about Myka's diet, what she can eat, how much she can eat. We are getting pretty used to monitoring that by weighing what she eats, checking every nutritional label. I even ask sometimes when we're at places, I am that mom who asks for a label at the Dairy Queen so that I know what Myka can eat. But they told us back in the NICU that Myka would love potatoes, and they were right. She loves French fries from Chick-fil-A, are definitely her favorite food. She pretty much lives on sugar and carbs, which we are pretty envious of. But she really is a good eater, and we have fun trying new foods with her, especially things like little bits of protein just to see what she can have, like cheese. She is completely vegetarian. She has no meat, but she's a good eater, as you can tell.
When we left the NICU in February 2015, we knew that a liver transplant would be something on the horizon for Myka as our genetics doctors talked to us about it. And so we've had quite a while to wrap our brains around the possibility of our less than 2-year-old daughter having a foreign liver inside of her. And so originally we had thought that a living donor would be the route that the doctors wanted us to take. But after realizing some further research and Reagan having a really great conversation with Dr. Venditti of the NIH down in Bethesda, Maryland, we realized that listing Myka for a pediatric liver transplant from a pediatric donor was the right route to go. And so while we've had a year and a half to wrap our brains around this idea of putting our seemingly healthy daughter under such a risky surgery, we've come to a strong peace that this is what God wants us to do.
We started the process of having Myka listed for liver transplant really back in June, right after she had gotten out of the hospital from a staph infection with her port. And we had a lot of evaluations, and she was placed officially on the list at the beginning of July. And then about a month ago, she was bumped up to status 1B, which means it really could happen any day when the right match becomes available.
And so while we may be in the hospital for 3 weeks or 2 months with Myka's liver transplant, we're prepared to be there for quite a while as she recovers slowly and goes through physical therapy. And it will be quite a while until she's able to come home. And even in that sense, a few months later after surgery, we'll probably be pretty isolated.
One reason we're really moving ahead with liver transplant now at Myka's age is that hopefully we will be able to preserve her own kidneys as long as possible. Sometimes kids with MMA wait to have a combined liver kidney transplant when they're a little bit older. So we are going ahead with the plan to transplant just her liver now and hopefully reduce some of the effects long term.
We couldn't do this without our great God. Myka's name means Myka, who is like our God, and her middle name, Joy, doesn't mean happiness, but it means joy. It's a choice that we have in the blessings that God gives us and the trials that He takes us through to develop our perseverance and character. And we don't pretend to think that, life is going to be a bed of roses and that it's going to be easy, but we know that God has given us great joy even in her life. In addition to staying up to date, the most important thing that you can possibly do for Myka is to pray. We believe in a God who heals, and we believe that God can heal her of this disease at any moment, and we pray that fervently. You can pray for Myka at 1:30 p.m. every single day. We've chosen 1:30 every day to pray for her because her birthday is 1:30, January 30th. And so set an alarm on your phone and pray for Myka that she'd receive the right liver at the right time. Myka. 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 Ha.
Gaga.
Ha.
Ever since Myka was born, we've been really blessed with great medical care for her and coverage through our insurance policies, but we do anticipate a lot of unexpected costs that will come with transplant. So we are partnering with CODA, which is the Children's Organ Transplant Association based in Bloomington, Indiana, and they are a nonprofit organization that help with funds for transplant. They give every penny of it to the children. A really cool thing about CODA is that they are setting up a lifetime long fund for Myka. We don't know what therapies she's going to need long term, what medications might not be covered that she has to have. CODA is a great way to give funds in honor of Myka as we proceed with transplant.
Like we've said many times, we're so thankful for our friends and family within the community right here in Pittsburgh, and also those around the world that have been following Myka's story. We couldn't be more thrilled with how God is using her little life for people to understand that, joy is something that you choose, that it's not something that just happens by your circumstances, that God is who He says He is, that Jesus Christ is real, and that we can have a personal relationship with Him. We're so thankful for all of those things that are coming out in Myka's life. We'd be lying if we said that caring for a child with special needs like Myka was easy. It's not. There's many days, including today, that we've had a hard time, that we've been at odds with one another, that the frustrations of life just seem overwhelming at times because of her schedule and her needs and her nutrition and her meds. But you know what? It's worth it. We're approaching this liver transplant with a lot of hope. And while we have the best care and the best doctors that our nation could offer here at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, our hope isn't ultimately in them. Our hope is in God. And we know that He has the power to sustain Myka's life. We understand that this surgery is risky, but I'm hopeful for the day that Myka will be able to sit down as an adult and watch this very video. We have hope that God will sustain her for not special memories for us, not because we want Him to, but for His honor and glory. And what that means is that her life would bring Him fame, would bring Him honor. And so that's where our hope and that's where our trust is in with this upcoming surgery. It's in God alone. Well, I think it's time to cut the video, but we just wanted to simply say on behalf of the whole Reeder family that we're so thankful for your support. Thanks for following along, and thanks for your support and your prayers.